And as we know, the leaders right now are still Arsenal, and they lead as it turns into a new year as well, something that they found themselves doing in the past and then gone on to not win the title. And that goes back before Arteta's time as well, of course. Well, he was asked about it and he said, let's break it. That's what they transmit every single day when they're with us training in every match. You can see their desire, you can see the energy that they put in, how much they want it, and that's what we need. That's still 5 months to go, and take it day by day. Enjoy that process of being where we are and go for it. So why might 2026 be different for Arsenal with this record, Craig?
Well, the squad, the chasing pack. While City are better, it's not City of 2 or 3 years ago. Liverpool have fallen off the cliff. I don't see any way back for them if you look at their recent form, including the game against Leeds United at home. There is nobody really else, as Chelsea have got 2 wins in 9. So the chasing pack are not quite as strong, although City have perked up. There is no doubt about that, and they are not. Don't look like they're going away, but they're not quite that frightening force of 2 or 3 years ago. So there is that. However, when a team don't go away, it's still a nagging doubt. But when you add that to the squad that Arsenal have in depth from midfield, there was no Rice against Villa. They coped, and that, as you should. Can't be complaining. You're going to lose key players, but you've got Moreno, you've got Zubimendi, you've got Odegaard, you've got others. So they cope with that. And they've also done it thus far. And this is something we touched on a couple of days ago. City are where they are with one of the informed strikers in European football, in Erling Haaland. Arsenal are where they are with being in the same position they were in the last 2 years, with a number 9 who still isn't quite hitting the straps. Whether it was Gabriel Jesus, whether it was Kai Havertz, Mikel Merino's did a good job. They spent the big money on Gyökeres, and they're not in this position because Gyökeres has got 20 goals. They're in it because they've played as a team. Now, if Gyökeres and they can find a way to get him the goals that he did at Sporting, and that's a big if they can do that in the second half of the season, I think they're going to be unstoppable. But thus far, they've not, the way they've played to the strength of that striker. And that's going to be one of the doubts going into the second half of the season. Because if he scores 15 or 20 in the second half of the season, they will win the title. But if he doesn't, and he hasn't so far, then the others are going to have to chip in, which they have done pretty well.
What do you think of what Craig's saying here, Robbo, with that Gyökeres situation, how it's going to unravel, and if he's going to come good for Arsenal?
I'm not sure he's going to come good. I mean, what are his strengths? You know, I saw him play at Coventry, I saw him play for Sporting, and he's fairly decent in the air when the ball comes in the box. His movement is quite good to get away from people. But I think his strength is just running down the side of defenders. He's not ultra quick, he's got strength in his running. He'll hold defenders off, and when he then gets into the box, that's when he tries to twist and turn and get away from them. He's also good when the ball's rolled into his feet and he's got his back to go and he holds off defenders and wriggles away and gets shots away. That's what he can do very well. At the moment, he's receiving the ball quite a long way from goal, which I don't think is where he wants to receive it. I think he wants to receive it another 10, 15 yards up the field. And we're not seeing him make as many runs down the side because they've got midfield players making those runs. They've got wide players in those positions, and they're not playing those sort of balls. I don't think they have to play to his strengths because they're top of the table. They're doing what they do well at the moment. What he needs to do is make sure that when it does come into his areas, he performs at his very best. And I think the difference between playing at Sporting and playing for Arsenal now, I think the defenders are that little bit quicker, that little bit stronger, and they haven't given him the room to work his magic, which he did in Portugal.
But if the others, Robbo, don't, you know, if the goals kind of dry up a little bit and from Saka or Moreno or Trossard or, you know, Eze or if they just sort of dry up a little bit, you're now looking at your striker, aren't you? You're now looking at this guy that you've brought in to try and win these games, and that's where the big question will be in the second half of the season. I don't mean this badly. This sounds strange. He's a goal scorer. There's no facet of his game that I'll look at and think he's brilliant at that. But he's been at Sporting a brilliant goal scorer, and when he's not scoring goals, the rest of his game is just okay. Hustle, bustle, you know, backing into defenders, running the channel, as Robbo said, maybe making some good runs in the box. And if we're being honest about it, thus far, although Arsenal are top of the league, he does look like a little bit of a fish out of water in this Arsenal team. It's not his fault, the kind of player he is.
What do you think of what Craig's saying there, Jan?
No, I think it's right, because for me the definition of a great goal getter is the one who makes that 1-0 goal, makes the winner out of nothing. I mean, like Erling is doing all the time. I mean, let's put it another way. Will the 4 players that Arsenal can play up front score more goals than Erling Haaland? I think that will be decisive. that means also that Manchester City is a bit more vulnerable, because if Erling then get a spell, if he gets an injury, I mean, they will be limited. But you need to get Rodri back. That will make an advantage, because Arsenal got a lot of alternatives in midfield. It's going to be interesting now with all the players coming back. I see Arsenal be stronger defensively, because City were all over the place. They've sorted it out a bit, you have to be said. Goalkeepers quite equal. Correa is good. Donnarumma, we know is good. So it's going to be a matter of goals. But listen, I mean, for me, it's now for Arsenal to lose, because Arsenal are 4 points ahead. They have better recruitments this season than Manchester City. Let's see what's happening in January. If they get Semenyo in, you maybe get more goals, you get more assists from the wings. But for me, it's now advantage Arsenal Football Club.
Advantage Arsenal Football Club, says Jan right now. When we get the panel's predictions, though, I'm not too sure that is how you see it, Jan. You think that they're going to drop points here against Bournemouth?
I think they will, because I think there are games like this. I was talking about Manchester City going to Forest, going to Sunderland, get away with 4 points. And these are the crucial ones. I mean, great win against Aston Villa. First half, a bit more equal, maybe advantage Aston Villa. But I think this is a test. So I was predicting that my 2 fellow teammates here will go for an Arsenal win, so I go for a draw.
You don't agree, Craig?
No, Bournemouth had honestly, it was just such a great start to the season. Basically, they lost Zabanyi to PSG, lost Houston to Real Madrid, lost Kerkez to Liverpool, amongst 1 or 2 others. And yet, at one point early in the season, I think they were in the top 4. It was quite amazing. But since then, there's been quite a big drop-off in their form. And so I just think Arsenal are going to be too strong. I think they'll grind them down in the end and get the result.
You too, Stuart?
Yeah, I saw Bournemouth play at Brentford, only not the last game, the game before. They were better at Chelsea, they got a 2-2 draw at Chelsea, but the game against Brentford was one of the worst performances I've seen for a long time. Defensively, they were all over the place, they didn't compete in midfield. Physically, they were outfought by a Brentford side, and I think Arsenal would do that to them. I think it's going to be a comfortable win for Arsenal. They've been there before and done exceptionally well. I think the first game of the season, a couple of years ago, they won 4-0. I think it could be one of those sort of performances.
Yeah, big game this weekend coming up for Manchester City, as they will be taking on Chelsea, as we take a look at the Premier League top half standings right now. And obviously this game following on from the departure of Enzo Maresca as Chelsea coach. Let's welcome in our guys to talk more about this. We've got Stuart Robson, we've got Jan Åge Fjørtoft as well, and we're going to start by showing you the predictions of the panel as well. Everybody's going for a Manchester City win, which probably doesn't come as too much of a surprise, given everything that's going on at Chelsea and the fact that Manchester City are at home here. But why is it 2-0 for you, Craig?
Yeah, I mean, I think City had a tough game at Sunderland and maybe can consider themselves a little unlucky in the second half with some of the chances and 1 or 2 good saves and some great defending and so forth. And Sunderland are where they are because they're a really physical team and they pressed and they made it difficult. But it wasn't a terrible performance. And I think City have found, they are in a decent run of form. They won at Nottingham Forest. It wasn't an easy game for them. Ryan Cherki's been in great form. Haaland had a difficult game the other night. I thought the Sunderland centre-halves handled them particularly well. They were very physical with them. But I just feel that this Chelsea team will be open. It's at home. And City will have 1 or 2 injuries. I think Gonzalez went off. We saw Rodri come on. The game changed when Rodri came on because he really had this element of control about linking the play up and passing the ball. And I think if he starts aligned to Cherki and Haaland at home, and even if Maresca was in charge of Chelsea, my prediction wouldn't have changed. So I can see City continuing to pile the pressure on Arsenal, keep asking the questions, and I don't see Haaland having another quietish night like he had at the Stadium of Light.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the ideal time, is it, Jan, to be facing Manchester City for Chelsea right now?
It's not. Having said that, there's everything to win now because they can't hide behind Maresca now, so they have to turn up. But to add to what Craig was saying about Manchester City, if you asked them before Christmas, you're going to Nottingham Forest, difficult game. I was there. There was a fantastic football. I think Nottingham Forest played very well. And then it went to Sunderland. It's loud, it's intense, there is so much energy. And come away with 4 points in these two games. I don't pretend to know Pep Guardiola, but I felt after that win at Nottingham Forest, he was very relieved that they could compete even on that level. And this game at home against Chelsea will fit them better. I think that it's going to be a clear Manchester City win.
Oh, I'm so disappointed. Jan Fjortov, you were at the City ground.
Were you there as well?
No, my whole family were there, and I was sat in my son's house. You could have thrown a stone over the Trent to me. I could have been there in 1 minute to see you. You didn't even tell me you were there. Oh,
What a missed opportunity, Jan.
It was a missed opportunity. There was a light in my Christmas up to see Craig. I so regret that.
Our heat map of going round all the pubs in Nottingham would have been fantastic.
It would.
I was 200 yards away.
So near yet so far. Rob, I want to talk to you about Enzo Maresca here, if I may. Do you think he brought any of this on himself?
Well, first of all, I think Jan made the right decision not calling up Craig, but yeah, I think Maresca did bring it on himself. I mean, once you start questioning the board and start saying that it's the worst 48 hours and I haven't had the backing of the board, and I haven't had the backing of the medical staff and all this sort of stuff, there's only going to be one winner, and that's the board. I mean, and Craig, I think has mentioned it before, that if you are a manager like Guardiola, you can say those sort of things. If you're a manager at the top of the game, you know, and you've been a manager like that for many, many years, you can say those things, but you can't say it in Maresca's position. The crowd weren't particularly happy with the style of football. The players, I'm not sure, have bought into everything that he does, and certainly the board have got their way of doing things, and he's challenged that. And once you start challenging that and talking about going to other clubs, you're always going to be the first person to go, and that's what's happened with him.
When you
and it's interesting.
When you
I'm just saying.
Go on, yeah.
No, I was just saying that it's a valid point that Maresca, we think because he's the manager of Chelsea Football Club, he's an experienced manager. We've talked about that by Alonso before. We think that Alonso has been a manager for 10 years. I mean, Maresca hasn't been around for a long time. So I think that he overplayed his card. But having said that, what we're seeing at the moment is also to own the truth that Chelsea, you can see where Chelsea want to spin the story. You can see what Camp Maresca want to spin the story. So I think we should be a bit aware now where the truth lies.
Yeah, let's get to those points, though, about Maresca's side of the story and some of the reports that we're seeing.
The other thing is here. Right. Now, the list of candidates, I don't want to go on get too far ahead, but the list of names is quite embarrassing for Chelsea Football Club. I mean, really and truly, if they wanted to make a mark, right? I mean, look at that. I mean, Areola is a really good manager, but it's not good timing for him. They are having a tough time. Bournemouth have fallen off a cliff after a great start to the season. Oliver Glasner, we know, is solid as a rock. Absolutely rock solid. I'm not dispelling that whatsoever. But you know, if you're Chelsea Football Club, and I'm just throwing this out there, I'm not saying this is going to happen because it won't happen, but if you want to make a statement, and you have a young team that are vibrant and energetic and can play a pressing game, you go and make Jurgen Klopp, for example, just for an example, you go and make him and say, give me 3 or 4 years, Jurgen. Here's a fortune. Give me 3 or 4 years. Because he could come in. That would be a statement. He could come in. Somebody like him could come in with his experience, his history, his success, and take his style and put it on not an aging team, but a young team. A team that could play the pressing game, that could play the high intensity. That's a statement. Not this sort of bunch of names that's on there, as good as some of them are. It's not a statement. In fact, it's quite embarrassing. And on the other side of it, Kay, it's Enzo Maresca. Who cares? I mean, come on. It's Enzo Maresca. Pep Guardiola hasn't walked out. Carlo Ancelotti hasn't walked out. Jose Mourinho in 2005 and 6 and 7 hasn't walked out. It's Enzo Maresca with a Club World Cup and a conference.
Can I just come back to something you said there, Craig?
How many coaches would put up with being dictated to?
Well, hold on. Didn't Enzo Maresca want a new contract? Didn't he use Man City and Juventus as a tool to attempt to get a new contract. So if all these things behind the scenes were the issue, the medical staff telling people who could play, telling people who could sign, if that was a real issue, why is he asking for a new contract?
Yeah, but that's now we are discussing the truth now. I mean, we should be aware what's truth in here. What it will give you 100% right, Craig, is that all the money people behind Chelsea Football Club are wondering how they earn their money. Did they earn their money with a great business, give the CEO jobs to inexperienced people? No, I don't think so. And now they could do that again. And I don't get it. Yes, I get it that they have 5 sport directors, 2 leaders with Stanley and Stewart being a charge of them. I understand that it fits them to have a weak manager. I do understand that. But I think that Chelsea at the moment is making them laughing stock of themselves. Chelsea used to, when Abramovich was there, they used to have a new managers all the time. But they were top managers with a lot of experience. That is a big difference.
Robbo?
Yeah, Jan is absolutely right. The reason that the list of managers that you just saw put up there, that they're not the top managers in the world, is because the board and the CEOs and the sporting directors, they want to take control of that manager. They don't want somebody like Jurgen Klopp who will say, no, I'm not sticking for this. This is what I'm going to do. This is the style of football I'm going to play. This is who I'm going to pick. And if you don't like it, you can get rid of me. So they want somebody they can control. And that's why they're looking at some of those names that you've just seen up there.
And that's why they'll be, for quite some time, the also-rans. That's why they'll be piping on about Club World Cups and nonsense like this. You know, it's if you want to get back amongst the elite, right? You have to be prepared to have managers that have a combative element about them. You can't have weak managers and expect success. Guardiola's not weak. Ancelotti's not weak. Klopp's not weak. Conte's not weak. And whether you like Antonio Conte or not, he's had great success at a lot of clubs. And he's also had a lot of fights. And he's walked out and whatever's happened. But he's not weak. He knows what he wants. If Chelsea want to continue to hire managers that are nothing more than puppets, then their success will be very, very limited, no matter how much they spend.
Quickly, Jan.
Just quickly, I will also mention Unai Emery. I mean, you can see how far you can take a team when you have a proper, good, experienced coach. I mean, Emery would have sorted out Chelsea very quick. He would have sorted out Manchester United very quick. That's just a fact.
Yeah. Now, as for Manchester City, obviously the hosts in this game, we know that they were frustrated by Sunderland in their last outing. However, we heard Craig talking about the difference that Rodri made, and it's something that Pep Guardiola discussed as well after the game. He said he changed the game. He proved in 45 minutes that he is the best in his position. Football is about the players. In the build-up, we struggled, and with Rodri, we struggled less. He broke the lines, we moved better. And 1 year and a half without him, we missed him a lot.
I hope Nico Gonzalez is not reading that. Who's actually done not a bad job.
Well, he came on for him, obviously, at half-time.
Yeah, he got a bit of an injury in the first half. He's actually done a decent job in there. But it's a bit like, one or two other, there's several players around world football at the moment. They're irreplaceable. You get people to come in, they'll do a good job, but nobody really does what Rodri has done for Man City in Spain. And when he came on, in a very difficult match, a very physical match at the Stadium of Light, where Sunderland really pressed, particularly in the first half, which he wasn't on, but particularly for the first hour, they really pressed. Some of his touches, I was watching, and there was one point, Matheus Nunes played a ball into him, around about the 75th minute mark or something like that, from the right back area. And he was under so much pressure. He took this first touch that just took the press out of play and played the ball around the corner. He is a quality, I'm stating the obvious, he's a quality operator. The problem is he's continuing to fight this way back to full fitness from a really nasty injury, picking up these little knocks as he goes. And that's difficult to shake off. So the more game time he gets, the better. But yeah, he was a joy to watch when he came on.
How important is it to have him back for you, Jan?
Oh, very important. I mean, to add to that is that he's like the conductor in the team. I mean, you just have to look at his stats. I didn't buy the whole thing that Manchester City had a bad season last season just because of Rodri's absence. No, I didn't take that. But to have him back as you do now, I mean, he's a quarterback. He's the guy that you can give the ball to. Fantastic first touch. Great passes, comes in there, and just his presence. And I think that he can turn into be the best signing of this transfer window. To get Rodri back for Manchester City, wow, that is a statement signing, quote, quote.
How much does it boost their title bid, Robbo?
Oh, it boosts it a lot, but he has to stay fit and he has to be fully fit, because when we saw him come back in previous matches, in his long comeback, he had 1 or 2 injuries and he couldn't perform at the same sort of level. He didn't look quite as sharp, but when he came on the other day, he had what you need to have for Manchester City, control of the game. And that's what they did for the second 45 minutes, and that's what he brings to a Guardiola side. If he plays at his very best, Manchester City are going to be right up there alongside Arsenal.
I think we saw in that game that, City are susceptible at times to that ball over the top. We saw it for Brobbey with Diaz, got himself in a bit of trouble. Yeah, but he had a hold of Diaz's shirt. The referee never saw it. But that ball over the top can be a problem. I think we also saw at times, particularly in the first half, the weakness now and again in the full-back areas where they don't have full-backs. It's attacking midfielders that are playing there, and Matheus Nunes and Nico O'Reilly. And I think we saw, if memory serves me right, in the first half, the lack of experience from O'Reilly, who's a fantastic player, getting tight and getting outdone by a 1-2 very simply in the first half. And that's just because he's not a fullback. So these are the little areas where teams can try and exploit, where, Nunes and O'Reilly, they're not natural in that position. I thought Sunderland did a decent job with that in the first half. But of course, all those things thus far pretty much have been negated by the form of Foden, the form of Cherki, the form of Haaland, and 1 or 2 others. And it's going to be interesting to see whether that can continue in the second half of the season.
Leandro Trossard proved to be the perfect antidote to Arsenal's attacking frustrations, following Mikel Arteta's candid remarks about Victor Gyökeres. Gyökeres may have struggled to truly impress since his summer arrival at Arsenal, but over the weekend, there was finally a glimpse of what he is capable of. More importantly, Trossard showed exactly why he could be the key to unlocking the Swedish striker's full potential during Arsenal's hard-fought 2-1 victory over Wolves at the Emirates Stadium. The 31-year-old winger injected fresh energy into Mikel Arteta's side on Saturday night and helped breathe new life into the Gunners' attack. Shortly after replacing Gabriel Martinelli in the second half, Arsenal found the breakthrough. While Trossard did not directly contribute to either the opening goal or the dramatic stoppage time winner, his influence on the game was undeniable. Trossard took control of proceedings, dictating the tempo and pulling the strings down the left flank. Time and again, he dismantled Wolves' compact defensive setup, releasing Miles Lewis-Skelly into space, picking out Declan Rice on the edge of the box, and crucially, feeding Gyökeres with intelligent, well-timed passes. Operating as a creative hub, the Belgian showcased his playmaking qualities, delivering sharp, purposeful distribution. His introduction completely shifted the momentum of the match, and for the first time in weeks, Arsenal's $64 million striker briefly looked like a genuine threat. Before Trossard's arrival, Gyökeres endured a frustrating and ineffective outing in attack. In fact, the Belgian was the only player to carve out a clear-cut opportunity for the 27-year-old forward, slipping a simple yet incisive ball in behind the Wolves' backline. Gyökeres controlled the pass, beat his defender, and aimed for the far post. Wolves goalkeeper Sam Johnstone was beaten, but the Swedish striker saw his effort agonizingly drift just wide. If Arteta truly wants to get the best out of Gyökeres, then granting Trossard a more prominent role in the starting 11 could be the solution. Speaking to TNT Sports after the win, the Arsenal manager openly addressed the challenges facing his marquee signing. It's a collaboration between the two, Arteta explained. He was in some really good positions, but the ball didn't arrive quickly enough, accurately enough, or with the precision a number 9 needs to score. But his commitment and intention were there, and we have to keep pushing. Arteta was equally vocal in defending Gyökeres prior to the match, urging patience with the striker's adaptation to English football. There was huge expectation because we were signing a proven goal scorer, probably with the best statistics in Europe, Arteta said. But he's coming into a different league, the most demanding league in the world. What happens if he doesn't score in 5 or 6 games? That was the only question I asked him. How are you going to react if you don't score in 5 or 6 matches? Can you handle that? And what about the next 100 games? That's what people need to see. The sample size is still very small, so leave him alone. Let him do what he does best. Support him, and I'm convinced things will come good. That message from Arteta resonated beyond the Emirates. In the days following the Wolves' victory, the debate around Gyökeres intensified among pundits, supporters, and former players. While some questioned whether Arsenal's record signing is truly suited to the Premier League's pace and physicality, others pointed to the structural issues around him rather than the striker himself. Much of the post-match analysis focused on Arsenal's chance creation and balance in the final third. The Wolves game highlighted a recurring theme this season. Gyökeres often makes the right movements, but the service into dangerous areas has been inconsistent. When Trossard entered the match, that problem briefly disappeared. Arsenal suddenly looked more fluid, more unpredictable, and far better equipped to supply a traditional number 9. Former players speaking on television and radio were quick to note the contrast. With Trossard drifting inside and linking play, Arsenal's attacking shape became more compact, allowing Gyökeres to stay higher up the pitch and occupy central defenders. That, in turn, created space for midfield runners like Rice and Ødegaard to arrive late in the box. It was a glimpse of an attacking formula that Arsenal have rarely sustained this season. The reaction from supporters has been equally divided. While frustration with Gyökeres' goal return remains, there is growing appreciation for his work rate, physical presence, and willingness to press from the front. Many fans now see Trossard as the missing connector, the player who can translate Gyökeres' movement into genuine scoring opportunities. Internally, Arteta faces an important decision. Persisting with a front line that isolates Gyökeres risks damaging the striker's confidence, especially with tougher fixtures on the horizon. At the same time, promoting Trossard to a regular starting role could mean reshuffling wide positions and reducing Martinelli's minutes, a bold call that would not come without consequences. Yet football at the highest level often comes down to chemistry rather than reputation. The Wolves match suggested that Arsenal's most expensive signing may not need drastic changes to his own game, but rather the right supporting cast around him. If Arteta embraces that idea, Gyökeres' slow start could soon be remembered as nothing more than a difficult adjustment period. For now, the pressure remains. Goals will ultimately define Gyökeres' Arsenal career, and patience in North London is never unlimited. But with Trossard offering clarity, creativity, and calm in possession, Arsenal may finally have found the key to unlocking their striker and turning promise into consistent production.